Light is Britain's far-right conspiracy theory paper spreading hate and vicious lies. No, that's what the BBC say. The Light is the only national newspaper bringing you the real news and informed opinion on what's really going on today. You can subscribe, order copies, submit articles, and read back issues on our website, thelightpaper.co.uk, and see for yourself why the establishment are so worried about the uncensored truth getting out to people every month. The Light Paper. Not far right, just right so far. Thelightpaper.co.uk.
Scene script. Have you ever pondered the idea of financial independence and early retirement? The notion of not having to clock in at 9 or wrestle with the daily grind? Imagine a life where you're not shackled by financial obligations or a demanding job. It's not an impossible dream, but a reality for those who embrace the FIRE movement. That's financial independence, retire early. Consider the tale of Jane, a woman in her early 30s. Jane was an ordinary person living an ordinary life. She had a 9-to-5 job, a mortgage, car payments, and a lifestyle that was comfortable but hardly extravagant. And like most people, she dreamed of a life where she didn't have to worry about money. Jane decided to make a change. She began by cutting back on non-essential expenses, saving as much of her income as possible. She invested wisely, focusing on assets that generated passive income that didn't require her to trade time for money. Slowly but surely, Jane began to build her financial independence. She was still working, but she was no longer living paycheck to paycheck. She had a safety net, a cushion that gave her the freedom to make choices based on what she wanted, not what she needed. Fast forward 10 years, Jane, now in her early 40s, had achieved her goal. She was financially independent. She had enough passive income to cover her living expenses, and she no longer needed to work to survive. She was free to retire early, to spend her time as she pleased. Jane's story may seem extraordinary, but it's not unique. It's the story of anyone who has embraced the principles of the FIRE movement. It's a tale of discipline, of sacrifice, and of a relentless pursuit of financial independence. To summarize, the key points discussed today revolve around the idea of financial independence and early retirement. It requires discipline and sacrifice, cutting back on non-essential expenses and saving as much as possible. It involves investing wisely, focusing on assets that generate passive income. But most importantly, it requires a change in mindset. It's about seeing money not as a means to buy things, but as a tool to buy freedom. It's about understanding the true value of time and the freedom that comes with not having to trade it for money. This is the essence of the FIRE movement. It's not just about retiring early, it's about achieving financial independence, about gaining the freedom to live life on your own terms. Like Jane, you too can embrace the principles of the FIRE movement and embark on a journey towards financial independence and early retirement. After all, the only thing standing between you and your financial freedom is you.
Ever wondered how much you'd need to save to achieve financial independence? The answer lies within the mathematics of a concept known as FIRE, which stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. The most essential number in your journey to financial independence is calculated by multiplying your annual spend by 25. Notice the emphasis on annual spend, not annual income. This calculation is based on the principle that you need £300 invested for every pound you wish to spend each month in passive income. Hence, your FIRE number is also your monthly spend times 300. This mathematical principle is founded on the 4% safe withdrawal rate, as defined by financial advisor William Bengen. He proposed this rate after analyzing the S&P 500, which typically produces an average of better than 10% growth per year when studied over a period of approximately 30 years. Bengen considered factors such as inflation and market volatility. After studying previous market activity, he concluded that a 4% rate of withdrawal per year would provide for a 30-year sustainable portfolio in the vast majority of cases. So to paint a clearer picture, if your monthly spend is £1,000, then your target for financial independence is 300 times 1,000, or £300,000. Alternatively, if your annual spend is £12,000, your financial independence target is 25 times 12,000, which also equates to £300,000. The first step in planning your financial independence, therefore, lies in understanding your monthly and yearly expenditure. Without this knowledge, it is impossible to take further strides towards your financial freedom. In summary, the mathematics of FIRE revolves around the principle of multiplying your annual spend by 25 or your monthly spend by 300 based on the 4% safe withdrawal rate. Knowing your monthly and annual spend is crucial in determining the amount you need to save to achieve financial independence. Armed with this knowledge, you can then plan your journey towards financial freedom. Remember, the journey to financial independence is not a sprint, but a marathon. Embrace the mathematics of FIRE and take the first step towards your financial independence today.
Well, good morning. It is 8 a.m. on Monday, the 22nd of September 2025, and that means that we have completed 3 years and 25 weeks of this roughly 8-year FIRE journey. Just very quickly before things change, look at the closing value there from Friday, 93.24.5, up 0.2%. The market has just opened and it has just shifted actually just as I was looking at that, so it's just bouncing about there trying to find an equilibrium point at the minute. Let's have a look and see where the portfolio itself is currently at. So the portfolio value 28,180 odd. That represents a return on investment of roughly 29.75% currently. There are 301.3 shares in the portfolio, and the average purchase price currently sitting at £72.08. Quite obviously, if you look at where the peaks are at there, the market is near enough at its highest point. Let's actually just have a look at the actual figures themselves just to see exactly. So the highest point in the last 52 rolling weeks was 93.83 near enough. Currently it's sitting at 93.53. So there's still another 30p or so to add to that to actually hit an all-time market high, but things are looking very green over the last significant period. So with that all said, let's have a look at the notifications. CoreWeave rises 2.5% after Loop Capital initiates coverage with a buy rating. Dassault Aviation falls 6% on BOFA downgrade and uncertainty over FCAS defense program. To be honest, beyond making fighter jets or that sort of thing, I don't know what they do, and I don't know what these abbreviations stand for either. FedEx claims 3% as cost-cutting measures and strong US demand boost Q1 results. So there we go. That's the notifications for this week. Now, as you can see, the last purchase was a mere 5 days ago, so we are a little early in this week's broadcast. A couple of days early, perhaps. But no matter. I'm sure next week it is quite likely to be later. In fact, I'm pretty sure I could predict that next week is probably most likely going to be on Tuesday, I would think. Don't take my word for that. That's not confirmed. But I know that I'm working Monday, so it'll not be then. Right. With that said, let's draw your attention to Monzo.
I want a bank that makes money easy.
That sounds perfectly reasonable.
And you are?
We're a bank called Monzo.
I want a bank that shows me what I spend instantly.
No problem, just give us a go. See?
Can you make splitting bills easy?
Super easy, check this out.
But it's a real faff to sign up.
It takes less than 10 minutes.
Ratio.
You're on.
Can I talk to a real person 24/7?
Of course.
Even now?
Yep.
Even now?
Anytime.
Can you tell me when I'm running a little low on cash?
We certainly can.
Cool. Can I afford these?
You certainly can't, sorry. Can't afford that either.
That's a real shame.
Not really. Time's up, how'd you get on?
It's a draw. Can you help me save for my next holiday?
Oh, how about you set up a savings pot in the Monzo app called Barbados, baby?
Thanks for listening, Monzo.
We're all ears.
You can go now.
Rude. You make Monzo Monzo.
Okay, so there's loads of affiliate links in the description for the video. I think there's also a link for signing up with Trading 212 actually, with the possibility, excuse me 2 seconds. Yeah, I think there's the possibility to open an account with Trading 212 and to get some free shares. Now that is only in the event that you open an account and fund it, so essentially you do have to invest in order to take advantage of that offer, and I would caution people against doing that unless you understand the risks, unless you're prepared to essentially lose everything that you invest, and unless you're confident that you are happy with those risks, and also that you know what you're doing to a certain extent. But if you tick all those criteria, if you don't currently have a trading account with Trading 212, and you feel that you are sold on the platform, then why not go ahead and use the affiliate link in the description. Right, let's come on to the main bit of the broadcast, which essentially is adding to the portfolio. So each week I hit the buy button, we add £120 worth of hypothetical money to the portfolio. Hypothetical because this is the Vanguard, sorry it's not. Hypothetical because this is the Trading 212 practice platform. The fund that we're buying is the Vanguard S&P 500 exchange traded fund, and at the current market value, that's going to buy us roughly 1.28 shares. Let's see how that looks. So it's going to be a market buy. This is just a summary. So it's a market buy. We're buying £120 worth of stock. It's going to give us 1.28 shares. There's no commission, and basically all is left to do is hit send buy order. So we do that, it executes, and there is the result. So we got 1.28 shares at a purchase price of 93.49.5. So we hit OK. Okay, so the current market value 93.50. So up 0.25% on the day so far. The value of the portfolio is sitting at 28,300, and the return on investment now 29.5%. Now with 302.6 shares. And average purchase price has risen slightly to £72.17. Now you'll probably not be able to see this very easily, but down at the bottom of the screen here, the first figure on the left here is free funds. So that's how much is remaining to invest in the portfolio. So with the Trading 212 Practice portfolio, you are given £50,000, 50,000 theoretical pounds, maybe I should say, to play with in the first instance. And I've been investing that at a rate of £120 a week. Our free funds are the amount remaining. Okay, so we still have more than 25,000, which would be the halfway mark. In fact, we now have nearly the same amount remaining as the amount of the portfolio value, which is rather interesting, especially given the fact that we're not at the halfway point yet. But there we go. Essentially, it'll take about 8 years to exhaust the £50,000 at a rate of £120 spent per week, and that's the reason for doing it that way. Well, also the fact that based on my calculations, I reckon most people working in health and social care at Band 2 should be able to afford to invest £120 a week. I think if you can't, then there are probably savings that you could find somewhere in your budgeting. I'll not get into all of that now, but basically, personally speaking, what I have tended to do over the last good number of years, even before a cost of living crisis, was to shop around. Don't just accept auto renewal prices for insurance policies. Have a look and see, could you get a better deal somewhere else? As regards your utilities, electricity, gas if you have it, water even, internet providers, if you have a TV box, do you pay a subscription for that? Even if you have Netflix, are you on the cheapest package that best reflects your usage or your needs? One thing I will say actually about Netflix that I hadn't realised to begin with is that on the very cheapest package, which is the one that has advertising included, the advertising actually doesn't affect the kids' accounts. I hadn't realised that at the very start, but I can remember saying to one of the kids, do you get much advertising? Because I know I don't seem to get very much of it. But the answer I got was no, it doesn't come on our accounts. So funny that the kids knew that, but I didn't. But there we are. So shop what you like. At the end of the day, these subscriptions that you're paying, right? What's everybody paying every month? You're paying your mortgage, or your rent. You're paying possibly a car payment. Hopefully not. But if you're paying for a car, that is something that you might want to look at. Everybody's going to be paying for electricity, internet, mobile phone. Are you still paying for a landline? Do you need to be? All these things, you know, I mean, and you might say, well, you know, I've had my phone contract for 20 years. I'm used to paying £25 a month. And I'm going to say to you, £25 a month? Hold on a second. How much is that in 6 months? How much is that in 12 months? And have you tried looking around? I'm not even paying £10 a month for my phone contract. Sorry, my phone is separate from my contract, if you like. But I'm on a monthly recurring contract, if you like, with Smarty. So each month it's a contract for a month, basically. And so there's no tie-in. It's less than a tenner a month, and it works very well. And quite honestly, I see no reason to change away from it. It's working perfectly for me at the minute. Now that said, you know, different horses for different courses. Not everybody necessarily wants to go with a cheaper provider. I can remember years ago people saying that they absolutely would not change away from BT for their internet because they felt that if something went wrong with their internet, then their repair would be that much quicker if they were with BT directly than with a customer of BT Wholesale. And there may have been some truth in that, to be quite honest, from anecdotal experience at least. I think that's maybe not so much the case these days. I think things have been operating in a fairer way. Also, I suppose with the move to fibre, things seem to be that bit more reliable. I think generally speaking, you'll find either it works or it doesn't work at all. There doesn't tend to be so much of a halfway house, if you like. But yeah, as I say, if you cannot find that £120 a week, which, let's face it, you're talking £480 a month, I am pretty sure I could find you some savings in your expenditure somewhere along the way, or somewhere where you could do a little bit more work to bring in that extra money every month, so that you could afford to make that investment, because it's not that difficult. Honestly, it's really not. Let me give you one example. Now, I'll admit I'm a band 3 worker. Okay, so whilst the thrust of this experiment is kind of aimed mainly at essentially the lowest paid worker in the NHS, the band 2, because band 1 is illegal now because of the minimum wage. But as a band 3 worker, if I do an overtime shift, 7.5 hours, I'm adding another £100 or so to my take home pay at the end of the month. So, you know, hypothetically speaking, if I wanted to add another 480, which is the rough calculation, 120 times 4, if I wanted to add another £480 a month to my take-home pay, I could do that quite simply by doing 4 or 5 perhaps 7.5 hour overtime shifts. Now realistically, a lot of the shifts I work are 12 hours, so in order to get that roughly 35 hours, I could do that in 3 12-hour shifts, pretty much. It's not that difficult, but as I say, I honestly would question your budgeting if you cannot find £120 a week. I would say you don't want to be paying for a car on a lease. You don't want to be paying over the odds for a bigger space than what you actually need to live in. You don't want to be buying brand name foods at the supermarket, and you want to be buying the value range. At least that's my opinion. If you want to be financially independent, not everybody does. Some people like to be tied to the system. That's not for me. Guys, with those thoughts, I'm going to leave it there for this week. Thank you for watching if you have been. Sorry, I'm just fighting with the computer here. Okay, let's give that a try. Lovely. Yeah, as I say, that's it for this week. Thank you for watching if you have been. Please hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this particular one. Subscribe to the channel if you want to follow the journey. And other than that, all that remains is for me to wish you a lovely Monday and a great week ahead. I will be back next week with more. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.